Welcome. So today's practice is designed to be a little short. It's a 20-minute practice because so many of us are short on time. You're at home, you're with your kids, you're trying to fit it into your work schedule. And so this is just enough. And I've designed it to be so that if you got up in the morning and you had an extra 20 minutes before everybody in the house was awake, you could do this. I'm wearing very comfortable clothing, even have my coffee in hand. And we'll start on the ground, literally as though you just rolled out of bed. And then we'll make our way to all fours at some point and do some things. And then eventually we'll end up being a two-legged creature and we'll stand. And so you might need a pillow, a blanket, anything that you can get settled in once we get to the seated portion. Okay? All right. One last sip. And so lay down on the ground. And take up space. Imagine you're making the snow angel. Stretch out through your legs, stretch out through your arms. And then you can gather yourself in really closely from there. Gather your knees in, hold on to yourself. Maybe even lift your chin away from the ground for a moment. And then lower your head back down, keep your knees in, and just extend your left leg long to the earth. You can keep your hands interlaced at your right shin, like you're using your hands as a basket, just to hold your knee in really close to your ribs and maybe a little outside of your rib cage. Make room for yourself. And then bring that back to center. Bring your left knee in as you extend your right leg to the earth, all the way down. Your right leg at gentle attention. What I mean by that is not letting the foot flop out to the side, but keeping the toes facing the ceiling, keeping your heel on the earth. And then we're just going to go side and side. And this can be fast, this can be slow. Bring your other knee in, extend your other leg out. Bring your other knee in, extend your other leg out. And as you begin to move, one leg and then the other, you start to connect the movement with your breath. And so maybe you pick up the pace a little bit. It's going to sound like a train picking up speed going down the track. Maybe it's almost a gesture in that you're not coming into the full of the pose. The leg's not extending all the way down. It's going to engage the belly just a little bit more. So wherever you might be, whatever you might need. And then the next time your left leg is into your chest and your right leg is down, stay. You're going to bring this left knee all the way over to the right. As you do so, move your hips, moving the whole of your hips, the whole of your seat, over to the left a few inches so that you live on the side of your right leg. And then you just allow this left knee to come as much to the ground as possible into this first twist. At the same time, so that we're creating more space through the right shoulder, start to urge your right shoulder, your right elbow out to the right. Kind of like you're unsticking the shoulder blade from your back. And then reach your left arm up next to your left ear. So now you can feel that you're creating this diagonal from your extended right leg to your extended left fingertips. And you can just imagine that diagonal and start to lengthen through both sides of it, really creating space across your body. If and when you're ready, add this piece with your left arm, your left shoulder. So just bring your left arm across. We're going to make a big circle. Bring it across your cheek. Sweep it around. Stay nice and close to the ground, close to yourself, all the way around to the left, and then back. And you're just letting the arm turn very naturally in the socket, and around and around. I like to go pretty slowly, and when I take my arm back, sometimes I even take a second to just crawl the fingers across. So you're noticing any sticky spots. One more time. Go around and then over. And then you end up with your left arm next to your left ear, and come on back to your back. Reset your hips, and then go to the other side. Extend your left leg to the ground, hug your right knee to your chest. Take a second and then bring it across. As you bring your knee across to the left, move your hips over to the right. And then you just scoot. Scoot and scoot your left elbow, your left shoulder to their own side. Find a bit of integrity in the extended leg by really reaching through it. And then reach your right arm next to your right ear. And breathe that for a moment. You don't have to change anything in your breath. You just really allow the breath to come in and to come out. And then start your circles. Bring your right arm across your cheek, all the way around over your hip, and through the other side. And keep going. And just like on the first one, if you find a sweet spot, right? So maybe it's not over your head. Maybe this one somewhere out to the side. You feel that across the chest, across the right side of your shoulder. Then that's a place you can stay. Right? A sweet spot might actually feel like a little bit of a gnarly spot. Just let that be information. And then finally finish your right arm next to your right ear. And then come on back to center. And then bend both of your knees so that your feet are on the earth. You can give this a measure with your arms down next to your hips, your palms on the earth. Can you feel your middle fingers touch the back of your heel? The longest finger touch the back of your heel. Once you've got that, just lift your heels up. Not the whole foot, just the heel. And really plug into the ball of your foot. Plug it into the earth. Make a little imprint with it. From there, keep pushing into it. Can you start to lift your seat up off the ground? And as you're lifting your seat and you're lifting your hips, you just rise up to whatever is capacity and stay. And then you can play with lowering your heels down. If you lower the heels and it feels like it just immediately scrunched your low back, go ahead and lift your heels back up. We want to keep this spacious. And then nice and easy, start with your seat. Lower your seat down to the ground. So you're actually lowering with a little bit of a back bend. And once you've got that, you should feel this nice width across your back. Let your knees come together. Walk your feet a little bit wider away from one another so that truly one knee is holding the other. There's little effort to do so. And then run your breath. Let your breath move up and down you. Imagine that you're just letting it travel along the length of your spine like this underground river. As the breath flows along, see if you can soften your hips. Feel the spaciousness across this bony landmass at the base of your spine, across your sacrum. We call that the circuit breaker. So just like in a structure in a building, there's a circuit breaker to make sure that all the wires are running correctly, right? You have that same thing in your body. When the nervous system can get a little bit hijacked sometimes or a little bit ramped up, this is just a way to literally re-ground yourself, re-ground your wires. Let the nervous system slow down. Take one more breath. And then stretch your feet to the sky. Now, immediately, the back of your legs might start to talk to you, and that's okay. Can you keep your sacrum on the ground, that space you were just working with, and put a little bend in your knees? Make it more accessible. Roll out your ankles. Roll them in both directions. And then play with how you're articulating, how you're expressing your feet. Pull your toes back towards your shins and feel a little firing through the back of the leg. Maybe a little bit more sensation. Reach up to your heels as you try to keep your sacrum on the ground. And then do the other. Point your toes as much as you can and really reach up through the toes. And then bring both of your knees to your chest. Now listen, if your back says that this is okay, we're going to rock ourselves forward and backwards. But if it's just too much, very gently roll yourself to your side and then sit up. Those of you who are rocking, they can be teeny little rocks, just back and forth, back and forth. And then come to your hands and knees. And from your hands and your knees, take a second, sway it left and right and left and right. But then we get really clear about this. Put your knees under your hips. Put your hands under your shoulders. So what you're creating is a frame, and you're creating 90-degree angles everywhere. 90 at your knee joint, 90 at your hip, 90 at your shoulder, and 90 at your wrist. And then take a second there and find a big spread of your fingers, like you're trying to make two big suns, and then bring your fingers all the way together. And what we want is the place right in between, right? That Goldilocks place, so that there's just enough spread of the fingers to really feel that your whole hand can meet the surface of the ground. Press your feet into the ground and then start to move yourself into a back bend. Bring your heart forward, bring your lungs forward, and then do the other. Round your back and bring your chin into your chest. Think that you're doing like a Halloween cat shape. And then go between the two. Take a breath in and round your back and a breath out. Take a breath in and round your back. And if it is in fact morning when you're doing this practice, you might want to go really slowly, just like you're yawning yourself open, starting to open some windows in your lungs, a little fresh air, and then you're going back into this little seed shape, this potent cave of your back. Let's call it 2 more. And then from here, tuck your toes under, right? So immediately, especially if you're wearing big, heavy shoes, it's winter time, got a lot of protection for your feet, you may want to take this just a little bit at a time, sit your hips back to your heels. And you're looking for more of the ball of the foot on the ground than your toes. So keep pressing your heels back. If you want a little bit more, start to walk your hands back so you put more weight on your feet. Those of you who are here, interlace your fingers all the way to the webbing and flip your palms up and reach them towards the ceiling. And once you've got that, put just enough bend in your elbows that there's no strain in your neck. Maybe even add another back bend, look up. And on your next exhalation, release your hands down. And we're all going to meet now on the top of the foot. So uncurl your toes, rest the shell of your foot, that hard part of your foot on the ground. And consider just sitting here, or put your hands down right next to your hips. Lean back and see if you can lift your knees an inch or two. Might give you a lot of information, a lot of intensity in the top of your foot. Don't rush yourself. And then come on back to the hands and the knees. Right, so from the hands and the knees, extend your left leg back. Again, you're on the ball of your foot and just pulse it. Find the heel and rock it forward. And find the heel and rock it forward. And you just do that a few times and then see if you can really trust that your leg knows how to hold itself, how to hold some ground. And as you rock your heel, keep looking out in front of you. Keep the windows of the lungs open. And then pause, right? So your right knee is underneath of your right hip, your right hand is under your right shoulder. You're gonna turn your left toes out to the side, about 45 or 60 degrees, so your actual back heel touches the ground. And then put your left hand on your back. Make sure that feels stable. Once you've got that, start to turn yourself open to the left. Turn your lungs and keep your hips rather square to the earth. It's gonna lift a little bit, but square it as best as you can so that you're really just coming through with the right lung. And then take your left arm up. If that feels okay, turn your palm so you can see it and really reach up through your fingers. And then sweep your left arm around and over your ear. And try to look out towards your hands. Imagine that your chin is a little ball and your hand is a mitt and you're throwing the ball into the mitt. And then lower your left hand back down, lower your left knee back down. Take a little circle around your hips, resetting, doesn't matter which direction. And then you're just going to go the other way. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Extend your right leg back behind you with your toes curled and take a lean back. And then come forward and back. And just in and out. You should feel it in the back of the leg in theory. And then once you've got that, I'm going to show you this one from a different perspective so that you can see that I'm really keeping my feet on their own sides. So as you extend the right leg back and you spin the foot out, you can see that my left foot is, in a way, in its left lane, the right foot on its right lane. Like feet on a bicycle, on the pedals. And then put your right hand on your back and see if you can turn yourself just from your ribs, like you're spinning the left rib cage underneath of you. The whole time your right heel is really trying to hold its ground. And then take your right arm up. Turn your palm so you can see it. And then reach over your ear. As you do so, shoot your chin into your palm. Keep pressing your back heel into the earth pretty fiercely. And then lower your right hand down to the ground. And then curl your toes under, sit your hips all the way back to your heels. Walk your fingers out in front of you and stretch it out. Pop up onto your fingertips like there's little cupcakes under your hands with big fluffy icing, and you don't want to smush it. And then walk your hands all the way back, right? So your toes are touched. We're going to come to a forward fold and then measure it. Take your two hands, make them into fists. Bring the thumbs to touch and then put that right inside the arch of the foot, right in the middle, not at the heel, not at the toe, right in the middle, and pull your feet in like you're bolting it. And then release your hands. And the challenge here is to really trust your legs. So bend your knees. Even if you have to bend a lot, you might find that the tendency, the want, is to straighten and rock way back, right? But that's too much strain on the low back, too much strain on the back of the knees. We want to be in the foot. So as you bend your knees, you find the whole of your foot. And you might find at some point that you can hold your opposite elbows and really just hang out. Heavy your head. Keep allowing the belly to rest on your thighs. Perhaps even let the weight move forward and back, heel to ball, heel to ball. And as though it were actually this easy. If there was a monkey on your back, just unleash it. Let it go. Slide it off. Unburden it. Keep traveling around the sole of your foot. Find the whole of the foot. And then release your hands to the earth. Nice and easy. Keep that little bend in your knees. Put your hands on your shins. Lengthen your spine. Look out. And then bring your hands behind your calves and give yourself a little squeeze in. Once again, let your head go. Do that 2 more times. Hands to your shins. Lengthen. Bring your hands to your calves. Fold in. Last time. Inhale. Fold. Exhale. And then lift and lengthen. Bend your knees a lot. Bring your hands onto your hips. Stand up. No rush. You may actually feel a head rush. We've been upside down for a little bit, so take your time. And then once you're there, hook your thumbs together, reach your arms up over your head. And take a lean to one side. Doesn't matter which, just lean over. Imagine this like opening blinds in your left rib cage. Just open the blinds to let in a little bit more light. As you're leaning, unlock your knees. And then come on up, switch the cross of your thumb and go the other way. And then come on back to center. Last piece we're going to do to stand, just release your arms nice and easy by your sides. And then walk your feet apart. So walk them apart a pretty considerable distance, not as splayed out as possible, right? But you could even measure this if you took your hands out and you dropped a line from your wrist straight down See if you can align your feet where that would be, right? And if that's too much, no big deal. You bring it a little bit more narrow. Release your hands and then turn your feet outward. Now, not so far out that once you bend your knees, the knees collapse in. So you're finding what's your own capacity, quite literally, how much can you handle? And then let your hands slide down your knees if possible. Don't worry if your shoulders scrunch up to your ears for right now, that's okay. Just take a second to let yourself move a little bit from one foot to the other. You can even take it a little bit deeper. Really almost straightening one leg and then the other. And then using your hands on your legs, we're going to take a twist. So you're going to allow the left shoulder to dip. Turning to your right, the left shoulder will dip forward. And try to stick your seat way, way back behind you, like your tail's growing back as you take the top of your head out. And then come back to center and switch it. Let the right shoulder dip. Your right hand is holding your right knee like a boundary so that it doesn't fall in. And then go side to side. And you can really just move with your breath. There's no rush, but you can amp it up a bit, up the ante, and side, and side. And then finish it off. Balance your sides. Come back to center. Slide your hands to your hips. Use your legs, straighten. Last forward fold here. You're going to turn your feet to face once again forward out in front of you so that all of your toes go straight out. Reach your arms out. Try to interlace your fingers behind your back. And if that's impossible, go ahead and grab yourself a towel or a scarf or a shirt, whatever you might have at your disposal, so that you can hold one on each side and you can bring your arms back. And then put a little bend in your elbows and spread out your collarbones. Nice and easy, tip forward like you're spilling yourself forward and fold over. And as you fold, you can start to reach your arms to the sky. Just be very loving to the back of the knees by keeping enough bend in your knees that you're not totally in your heels. On your next inhale, lift just halfway. Put your hands underneath of you. Find your stability. And then if it's available, you can put your hands on your hips. If that's too much, do what you need to do to come all the way back up. And then walk yourself back in. And that's it. Beautiful job, everybody.